네.
좀 더 봐야 돼. 한 모습이 잡혔죠. 한 모습이 잡혔어요.
Are now playing around the front, trying to get some protection coming.
나 와, 시그마가 좀 잡히죠 이거.
한방.
자꾸 튀겨줍니다.
와.
Just have to displace a few more members of London. Stick comes in. That's going to be a 2-for-1 special. Alrighty, welcome back, guys. It's time for our final series of the evening, and this one's pretty exciting on paper. London Spitfire getting ready to go up against the Hangzhou Spark. London have been surging as of late, but the Spark look very much renewed after their recent additions to the roster.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to make like a power rankings tier for Asia, it feels like you would have the
it's really
you'd have a Shanghai tier, and then everyone else would be on the same tier, and then a lot of people would argue for hours and hours and hours on where everyone goes in that second tier. It's just the reality is we know some teams will have advantages in matchups like this, like Hangzhou Spark coming again as the favorites. But but with all the variance in this region right now and how much you're seeing, for example, London Spitfire suddenly looking really, really good. Hangzhou looking solid right now. Let's talk about their roster as we get into this. They are honestly looking pretty phenomenal. Like we were seeing Mika in this roster again today, and Mika's looked really, really good as a strong addition to this roster. QOQ in as well. And Hangzhou Spark's on the up and up. London Spitfire's on the up and up. This is two teams that, were otherwise not that exciting in Asia until very recently, where they've, we're seeing these new members on Hangzhou Spark, and London Spitfire are starting to look like their coordination is really, really getting to be at the top tier of, what we consider like high level play in Overwatch League, right? And that's why this match is exciting, because you expect Hangzhou to win, but you're not sure. Like, no one's really 100% sure. No one could say with 100% certainty that this might not be an upset.
Yeah, I mean, if you're London Spitfire, this is the big one to prepare for. This is the opponent now that is kind of like the Goliath for your David story. So we'll have to see how much work has gone into that. We'll go ahead and take a look at their starting six as well, and we can see that there are going to be some minor adjustments. We're actually not going to be having Glister in the starting six.
Yeah, it's Aldo and Babel coming in this time, and J-Mac, Bernard, the players, the heroes that you expect to see, and Hylia and Sanguinar are going to be the last two in the lineup. But yeah, surprising to see Aldo in the roster to start things off. It might be just a Control exclusive. We are going to Lijiang Tower, so we might see him on Sombra or something like that, and then he gets subbed out for Glister when we go into the further maps, but hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, also interesting is, Krillin. It's weird to say that, but Krillin had a phenomenal week last week, and he was destroying people with his Zenyatta play, so it seems like maybe not looking to run Zenyatta for this first map either, so we'll have to see how things are how they're going to transpire. Having Mika in makes a lot of sense. He's been playing a phenomenal Mercy. Lijiang Tower obviously going to have such a great skybox for either the Echo or the Pharah to come through, so having the possibility of that pocket pick healing coming in is really good for the Hangzhou Spark, so it makes sense to have him in. We just have to see how London is going to be competing, and I think that is pretty much the crux of this series, is how close can London make this, if not net themselves a victory.
Well, that's the crazy thing, right, is if London wins this series, you're kind of like, wow, like they've really, really, really leveled up, right? It would be a crazy thing if that happens, but I mean, London right now, like they're on the improvement, they're on the road to improvement. They're looking pretty solid in general, but like this is Godspeed and Architect duo, Gushwei, one of the best main tanks in the world, QOQ, up and comer from Korea, and then Mika, the seemingly unknown Chinese main support specialist, Mercy specialist rather, I should say. This is a scary roster that London has to, the overlay messing with me, that London has to to go up against here. And I think if they do it, I think everyone really has to start wondering like more and more about London Spitfire's power level. Like, how strong are they really?
Yeah, I think that them winning this is Vast's power rankings are just going to be in shambles.
All
Same
broken.
with Johnny's.
It's all broken.
Yeah, just mentally boomed. But here we go. So we'll be Ashe Echo for both teams. That makes sense to have Aldo in the mix here.
Yeah, surprising.
We'll not be seeing any kind of pocketing yet. This is Control Center, so not too surprising to not see a Mercy.
Surprising not to see any Sombra on either side here, though. This is one of Sombra's stronger maps, I feel. that Zarya style could have been strong, but they're not going to do it. Just going to stick with the meta.
Ooh. A lot of damage there onto Highly, but does get saved by the Immortality Field. Architect playing low on the ground for now. Will finally go ahead and zip up. JMac, though, manages to find the first kill as Godspeed will be taken down. They have to advance onto the point now to try to get this cap. Gushway's going to be set up, has his bunker ready to roll. As we just keep seeing Architect hovering around that side. So far, he and Although are going to be pretty neck and neck towards the duplicate charge. Amp Matrix is going to be coming through, one on the top of the stairs, one down on the base of the point, which is still yet to be locked down by either side. Continuing that contest. Architect, however, getting up into the back line, tries to get the beam to come through, to get a finishing blow, but can't quite nail that one. The sticky bombs only going to connect a few onto Bernard, who is still going to be rather weak with that Sigma. Trying to play in behind the barrier, but the Dynamite comes in and QOQ manages to get those final hits. Hangzhou Spark can finally lock down the point, and now they just look for the cleanup.
Yeah, and this is a crazy scenario too, because London Spitfire, remember, got the first opening kill and actually were winning a majority of that early parts of that fight. It was a really, really long fight, so it almost feels like it was multiple fights. And Hangzhou Spark members came back from spawn. They were able to delay, prevent the cap, and then win out in the end. So actually pretty insane turnaround. And now they're starting to tick up here. Ult economy-wise, both teams pretty even, so if London Spitfire botch this attack, the Hangzhou Spark are going to be in an incredible position to take this first round, because the ultimate trade will definitely favor them. Flux first.
Well, that's going to be a pretty big Flux. Catches a lot of members. Immortality Field will be sitting 5 of them. Bernard stunned up there as Although with a duplicate, trying to build up towards that Flux. Architect is getting close with one of his own, but gets popped out right as he gets the ultimate available. Flux now comes in from Bernard. It's going to be a massive turnaround at the hands of the London Spitfire. Although getting that Flux as well, but loses it at the last second. But the point will be theirs. 54% built up here for the Hangzhou Spark as Gushway does get picked off.
Yeah, the angle there was really bad for Architect, unfortunately. As you mentioned, he didn't get the Flux, and then he tried to, beam, and he was basically shooting at Bernard's experimental barrier the entire time there. The angle was really good for London Spitfire, and Hangzhou kind of got stuck in this rock and hard play situation where they had to commit to the fight but couldn't shoot through the barrier when they didn't have their own, so... Quick turnaround here for London Spitfire, and this is pretty hopeful for them now after that rocky start. Pretty ult-efficient retake.
Another Amp Matrix coming through the Supercharger, going to be finished off at the start of the fight. QQ consistently taking a lot of damage, and JMac, gets surrounded there. Does get melted, but Babel manages to trade it back, getting rid of the enemy Echo. For now, London Spitfire holding on to the point as Gushway tries to exit back towards the rest of his team. Seems like he is going to be able to do so. Although, picks up the Orisa this time, and Gushway going to be dead as they pop him up into the air with that hull. Nice headshot lineup there for Babel. Supercharger now going to be pressed in. It's the follow-up kill here onto Bebe, and Spitfire will be able to hold off the Hangzhou Spark here and take the lead.
And, they had it. I said they had that ult-efficient retake. It was as efficient as they could be, but they still were down on ultimates, and Hangzhou Spark came in with a lot. They tossed in almost everything they had, and... I mean, literally everything they had. They're going to have a few more ultimates coming online now, but London Spitfire still held strong, and now the ult economy is kind of going back even here. So London Spitfire have a great Flux fight here coming up in just a second.
Bob on the point, contesting things for now, but they will be able to go ahead and finish that one off, so they don't have the threat of that side cap coming through. Flux will catch Bernard, but the Immortality Field protected by the barrier will keep them alive. Immortality Field going to have to be used here as well for the Hangzhou Spark, but QOQ going to be eliminated all the same. Although manages to find a second kill, this time taking down Godspeed as Architect tries to build up for the Flux, as the Kinetic Grasp will get a bit of shielding here. But ult going to be expiring rather soon as he presses up into the face of JMac to try to finish him off. Instead, will get knocked out of the ultimate. Has to go back up into the air now and try to press back into the point where it's 99% built up for the Spitfire, and the OT starts bleeding away. He's got a tag in. You can see that was Architect just now resetting the meter, but QOQ zoned back, cannot get there. So 154%. London Spitfire will take the first round of Lijiang Tower.
Yeah, and this is one of those rare maps of control too, where, I mean, if you want to really run the numbers, usually the team that gets the first cap wins the map. In most cases, right, because of the ult advantage, especially in metas like GOATs. In this case, though, it's not a meta that is defined only by ultimates, especially when Immortality Field is in play, because I can shut down a lot of the ultimates that come into play. It's not even an ultimate itself, it actually is just a cooldown. But London Spitfire won several of those fights down on ultimates, and oftentimes in positional disadvantages, and took re-engages. So Hangzhou Spark had strong engages. The London Spitfire were able to survive through those with Hylia's immortality fields and then re-engage. It was a very impressive win from London Spitfire. It's like they won that round on hard mode. And that is a good sign, a good boon for the rest of the series potentially if they can keep that up and win these fights that, you know, they're down on tools with. Hanzo, by the way, kind of a strange lineup here for Hangzhou Spark. Hanzo McCree, so poke damage and anti-echo here is the name of the game.
See what Architect can get done. You know how good he is. Thanks for that bit of a fadeaway shot there onto Hylia. Can't quite line it up. They'll spot them out though with the Sonic Arrow. At the same time, we'll be capping the point. A lot of damage pushed out of the QOQ and Godspeed off screen, but Architect will be allowed to go ahead and lock this down for the Hangzhou Spark. So already getting themselves on the board. Get halted together, but he'll take a quick hop away. Takes a lot of damage. You see they're pressing in, looking for that finishing blow. Babel on the hunt for him, but can't quite get him in time. Retreats, picks up the health pack, and Godspeed will be able to take down Bernard.
It
Quick
seems
flip is here
short-lived
for the London Spitfire, but I don't think they're going to be able to hold on to this for too long. Although manages to get QOQ, but Bebe cuts him down shortly thereafter. So Spitfire, they'll briefly take the lead, but this will just be another back and forth.
So Spitfire split into two groups. It was a cool way to take the point while also threatening shields from behind. But Hangzhou said, okay, look, we already have the point control. We already have a few percentage points of buffer. And they actually just went 6v4 on the members of the Hangzhou Spark that were not on the point, killed them, and then retook the point while London was split in half. So it was the perfect response by Hangzhou Spark, despite a really cool retake there from London Spitfire. Smart plays all around.
High Noon going to be coming out. Godspeed shut down. Grecian plus the sticky bombs managed to find the kill, although going to be transforming into a Sigma yet again, but has to get some shots in behind the barriers if he wants to build up for Flux. So far, hasn't been finding too much of anything. Flux does come through from QOQ, doesn't find any kills yet, although getting ready to lose a duplicate now. We'll go ahead, push back into the Echo form and try to build up for yet another ultimate. Pressing forward right there, QOQ getting it pretty aggro, moving up into the hallway where London has just continued playing. They keep playing around this side of the map. Dragon Strike rolls in, doesn't net them any kills, but it zones them back, and Battle gets caught up in the chaos. Taken down now the Accretion and onto Sanguinar, and you can see it's starting to look a bit more disjointed here for the London Spitfire, playing so far away from the point, now giving up so much free percentage effectively for the Hangzhou Spark. 75% is on the board.
They want to play on that side so they can threaten the barriers. They don't have the same shield break that Hangzhou Spark has with Architect on the Hanzo. So that's really hurting them. So they're trying to play around the sightlines where they have shield break advantage, but it puts them in this awkward spot where they can only play on one room, and Dragon Strike is perfect for that, and it just allows Hangzhou Spark to dictate the pace of these fights. They're going to try to use this Tracer back cap here. Oh, well. I'll let Architect end my sentence.
They might not even be able to tag in here, so Sanguinar will barely make his way through by shield bashing his way onto the point. The bomb now going to be coming through as well, just to give a little bit of extra contention, but Focus Fire comes through, they finish off the bomb. Babel in the meantime manages to find Architect, but they need so much more than this to the London Spitfire if they want to swing this back in their favor. Although manages to find QOQ, Bebe going to be eliminated. That's a 3 for 2, make it a 4. It seems like Spitfire will be able to pull off this flip as Gushue is alone on the backside of the point, and we'll just be getting staggered here at the end, you would expect.
Yeah, there's not even going to kill him. It was actually it's really hilarious watching JMac try to get that kill onto Godspeed with the momentum from the grapple, but he just didn't have enough. That's why I was giggling earlier. But yeah, they do end up winning that fight. And, you know, the retake, the reapproach here for Hangzhou Spark is... It's honestly, it looks great in terms of the ultimates they have, but the execution has to be crisp as well. You can't just walk up and bob. You can't just walk up and Dragon Strike. Those are not incredible ultimates for retaking a point like this. So you can see they're taking the same angle that London was taking earlier on the outside to try to get that shield break.
Bob going to be coming through. Godspeed sends him over onto the point. He's actually just barely off the point, so he won't be getting a cap in the meantime. But the rest of the team pushes forward. They lose out on 2, however, so I don't know if this retake is going to last too long. They have to get their way over onto the point. They finally do manage to do so, but now they're trying to press their way forward. Pulse Bomb comes out, gets eaten by that Immortality Field. Recall comes in from Aldo, who's looking rather clean on the Tracer so far. Looking for another target as the rest of London look for the flip. QOQ backed up into the corner, does get finished off. And now with Bebe falling, it seems like London Spitfire will get a second lease on life. The final kills coming through in the fight. They are in control, and they're getting ready to surpass 70%.
Although having a really good performance on several heroes here, he's coming in as kind of the ultimate flex right now, and I thought he might be on the Sombra. That was my prediction. We've had a Sombra-less Lijiang Tower here so far, but the Tracer is great. He forced out the Immortality Field, deleted it immediately, and that's worth a Pulse Bomb. I know everyone wants to see big Pulse Bomb kills, and they're frustrated to see the Immortality Field come out, but that's what it's for right now in this meta. And what?
Oh, what?
Hello? What? Hello?
Did all those just not realize that he was standing next to a Hangzhou? Now the Dragon Strike going to be thrown in through the wall at point-blank range. Tengonar barely trying to survive, has the rally rolling. Babel gets stunned up. Godsby finishes him off after the flashbang combo. Highly, however, manages to find 2. Architect Kushui, he gets a 3rd. QOQ taken out of the fight. Highly, can he make it happen? It's looking like the answer might be yes. They finish off Bebe. They thought that they had it. They get the catch onto Although, but they weren't ready for Highly.
I wasn't ready for Highly, man.
They take it. Lijiang Tower goes to them.
Wow.
2-0.
2-0, and it was an impressive win. Like, wow. I don't know if I can overstate this, but to win some of those fights they took while they were down, sometimes like 5v6, 4v6, and to win some of these fights without ultimates, their creativity around how to use shield break, they're splitting up 4 and 2 on the point to win the 2v1 on the point, then have that backup shield break in that room away from the point. I don't know if there's a call out for that, but you know the room I'm talking about, you were calling out in the team fights. Really smart plays overall from London. They just look extremely well prepared, and I think we might see all those subbed out here for Glister, but he had a great performance on that first map. Minus the weird Hanzo thing.
We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see if there's going to be any substitutions here for the London Spitfire. I mean, we know that they've taken some risks in the past, but that was before they looked anywhere near as stable as they do right now in the last 2 weeks. But man, what a play from Highly! Absolutely heroic with the Amp Matrix to go ahead and get those kills and help close out the round. Otherwise, Hangzhou was looking like they're going to be taking us to that final round of Gardens, but it does not happen. Hangzhou, though, they're going to be feeling a little salty, I think, after that loss, but we'll see if they can go ahead, bounce back, and tie us up 1-1 after this quick break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury. With HyperX Fury Memory.
And we are back, one map down in this final series of the evening, and London Spitfire, the ones drawing first blood, a 2-0 victory over the Hangzhou Spark on Lijiang Tower. I gotta say, it was pretty surprising the fashion in which it happened.
Yeah, I mean, it almost felt like London Spitfire stole the win away. Like that's how close it was, and how
highly stole it away.
Yeah, and it was so like razor thin close that I mean, we really could have gone to a third round that Hangzhou dominated. We just didn't get to see that. I liked Hangzhou's play style. I liked the Hanzhou they picked. It's always weird when you have Hanzhou and Hangzhou, but I liked how they played it. I liked the style they were running. They were trying to go for better shield break. Their Dragon Strikes were quite strong against London Spitfire's positioning when they were using that room we were talking about. And, you know, I mean, overall, like, highly stole the win away, as you were saying. And London Spitfire won a lot of team fights that, if you look at the snapshot of, like, the ults in the game and the positioning, any analyst will tell you, like, London doesn't win this fight. And then they're just winning these crazy fights with really good barrier placement from Bernard. And I feel like that's part of the reason why Hangzhou decided to run the Hanzhou, because they were having so many problems breaking through the shields of London Spitfire, especially on the first round. There were so many fights where you'd see Echo run, and Architect runs down the Echo and just like is beaming a barrier, and you're like, why can't we do any damage here?
Yeah, it feels bad moment. But yeah, I mean, I like the adaptation. I don't think it was necessarily the wrong play, and by no means did that composition cost them the game. It was just, you know, London had a clutch moment. Highly put the team on his back and said, hey, I've got an Amp Matrix, and I'm thirsty for blood. And he just happened to pick up 3 kills right in the 11th hour and helped them close out that round to get the 2-0. So it's just really good clutch play coming in for the London Spitfire. So they start the series up 1-0. I mean, we saw a similar situation happen for Seoul Dynasty in our previous series, so I'm hoping it's not the case where London just kind of, you know, slowly becomes less competitive throughout the rest of this series. I hope that is going to, they're going to keep butting heads as we go deeper into this set, because this is already looking to be like, you know, a potential Game 5. As I accidentally spit, a potential Game 5 series on our hands.
Could be.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, we have Glister in now with Bobble. We're talking about Bobble's pronunciation of his name. I've like a lot of people tweeting at me and stuff about the last time we cast him.
I'm going for the Babble.
Babble,
you know?
is like what most of the casters have been calling him. Bobble is how it would be pronounced in Korean, and then Babel is like how it's supposed to be pronounced as like a word in the English language. So it's tricky. I think, you know, potato. I think you guys can chill on that one. But we have Jihoon in as well, actually, on main tank, and that's a bit of a surprise to me, because I thought JMac played it very, very well on Lijiang Tower. He and Bernard were really the 2 big playmakers in terms of how they were kind of shutting Hangzhou Spark out in the barrier battle. So it might just be that he prepared specifically for Volskaya, and London Spitfire want to, you know, try to even out the playtime. They're kind of doing that a lot, right? We see big changes on London Spitfire. They do a lot of substitutions. Reminds me of 2018 London Spitfire. They had like the biggest roster. They had like 2 rosters. GC Busan coming in with good old Panthera roster.
Yeah. Well, they've got that depth, but just the 2 swaps, Glister and Jihoon. Glister going to be, okay, making up his mind. He'll be moving over onto the Tracer. So not going to go for the, you know, the NYXL teleport around left strat with that Symmetra. Just puts him on the high ground for a little bit. As Hangzhou Spark play very up close and personal here towards the garage. Bernard nearly getting picked off, falling down to double-digit HP. Does get topped back up, and Godspeed picked by Babel, who has just been a phenomenal hitscan player for the London Spitfire so far, and he continues to show that prowess. Point blank accretion comes in. QOQ out of that kinetic grasp as they make their way out of the garage, and they are just collapsing on top of Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah.
They say, you know what, okay, we'll play up close and personal. London says, great.
This is, I mean, that opening pick just takes away so much of the damage that Hangzhou Spark have, even up close and personal, the tick damage from the Dynamite, etc., etc. It's a huge pick from Bobble. I say his name 3 different ways. Every time I say it, I just have to like think about it for a second. Huge pick from him. As you say, he's been a great hitscan player for London Spitfire, and you know, I think the Tracer's a solid pick here too, because you identify they're not running Torbjorn, so you feel pretty comfortable running the Tracer into this, and Glister is a phenomenal Tracer player. Makes sense to sub him in for a map like this, and I don't know, London are coming into this next point B with a few ultimates about to come online. This is a scary moment right now for Hangzhou Spark.
Yeah. Right now, Babel just going to be sitting on the top, tosses the Dynamite into the room. Can't shoot it to pop it, so it seems like he's not going to be getting any extra damage off of that one. Godspeed off screen, under a little bit of fire, duking it out with Glister, who will go ahead and smartly back away from the fight. Set full spawn ready to go. Grabs the Mega Pack for now. Grecian gets a couple of hits through, so Hangzhou holding back nicely for now. Gushwei being tagged up, pulse bomb slam down, doesn't find the stick, and Bebe able to leap out of range of the explosion to keep himself safe. Architect goes ahead, gets the duplicate on to Bernard to match the Sigmas. He's trying to get that flux online. Jinglin, however, pushes forward, gets a melee hit onto Gushwei. Already see that Mika has been eliminated. And now this is Spitfire. I mean, this is their fight to lose effectively. They are already so close to capping the point, just have to clean off these few remaining members as well as this Bob away from the Hangzhou Spark, and then this is going to be them locking it down with a massive time bank. Hangzhou Spark have to desperately try and fight tooth and nail to turn this one back around. That's going to be a good start though. Sangwon are going to be eliminated. Taken out of the fight, Highly still going to be hovering nearby, but gets that body shot coming through.
They should survive here, I think.
Has to peel back.
Unless Godspeed gets picked.
Under yeah, and he will. Glister manages to finish him off. Has to jet his way out of there to get that health pack ready to go. Halfway to the next pulse bomb.
Still need to regroup and look for another fight, though. They just got a little bit...
Yeah, they're taking a breather.
Yeah, they got a little bit disjointed there, and it was a really nice bob to delay coming through from Godspeed. He's going to have another one coming up fairly soon, but really nice hold, all things considered.
Well, already 2 members going to be gone, and that is enough to get them off the point. So 3:53 is the finishing time for the London Spitfire. Absolutely massive from them.
That was a C9 actually. Like, they actually definitely could have tagged there. That was like one of those. That was like very quietly a C9. Like, it was very quietly a.
It's not. It's. I disagree. It's not a C9.
You don't think so?
They were losing the fight. They lost 2 off the start.
Well, okay, but they. Yeah, I mean, they were losing the fight, but they simply just walked off the point.
It's got to be a fight that you win. You're winning the fight or have won the fight. Move off the point.
Yeah, you are technically correct. Yes. You are technically correct. I like to debate these things. You are technically correct, but they could have gone.
That there's going to be.
They could have gotten so much.
Silly people in the chat. People are going to say it no matter what. But all I can do is reinforce the actual.
Yes,
definition.
in the most technical sense, you are correct because it was not a one-team fight, but it was they stepped off the point and. They could have delayed that a lot further, like a lot further. And yes, like
sure, but I also don't blame them, given who got picked. I mean, you lost Gushwei on an Orisa and Bebe on the Baptiste. Those are 2 people that you would expect can stay on the point for a long time, and given the armor, the immortality field that can come through, they blew them up so quickly that Hangzhou just like didn't even have time to respond.
They didn't react
and
quickly
realize
enough.
that the point was exposed.
Yeah, they didn't react quickly enough, but that hurts because you definitely could have bought at least like 15 to 20 more seconds off of that clock, even if you do end up losing the point. It's 2 ticks already. It's a tough time to react. Anyway, just a little bit puzzling there. We're going to see the same teleport opening here for Hangzhou Spark, but they're going to be running the Echo. Try to open this up. Glister stayed on the Tracer. Again, kind of guessing they weren't going to run Torb, and we might see if this first push fails, they might swap, but I think this is a pretty solid choice here for Architect as long as he can avoid those sight lines for Babel here.
Architect just jumping over the side. I think we need to just set different pronunciations for Babel depending on how good he is. It's kind of like evolution in Pokemon. He starts as Babel, then he moves to Babel, then he's Bobble.
Eventually. I mean, well, this is a good start. Hold the thought on the Babel.
Right now he's Babel. It's not going too well. They are just getting absolutely dumpstered on the point right now, are the London Spitfire. And Grecian will come through. They try to come to the rescue of Bernard, but it's more just about quickly feeding in the kill so you can get the reset and be ready for the defense on point B, because, yeah, London Spitfire going to have to be absolutely entrenched for this one. Similar time banks coming through at the start. 5:53. That is one of the highest starting time banks that we've seen in some time.
Really, really high.
At least 2 minutes they have to hold them off just to tie the time.
I mean, if you think of the old time bank rules, it would be even higher, but Glister here is looking for an opening right now on the back line. It's actually a very risky play when your opponent has this big time bank, but when you're Tracer, sometimes you got to take what opportunities you can get. And he is looking for that moment, that opportunity to get a backline pick, force an immortality field.
Glister working his way around, doesn't have the range to really compete with Godspeed. Just out on the shield bash. Good movement coming through here from Glister, staying ever elusive. Bob going to be tossed in straight up the front of the point here. Architect actually finds the kill on the Glister with the sticky bombs. That's going to be Bit of a rare pickoff onto a Tracer. Flux coming down, not going to net any kills yet. Bernard trying to turn things around, manages to find Godspeed, but Hangzhou Spark are still on the point. They're still advancing towards that second tick, and they will have it. So this is still going to be a very strong push for them, even if they can't finish it right here. Seems less likely as time goes on. Bernard continues to clean up members, so they will stop them, but they still get that second tick to start from the next time they push forward. They make it to 74% overall.
Doesn't this feel familiar? I mean, we just saw a very similar situation for the attack of London Spitfire, right? It's an almost cap here for Hangzhou Spark. They're coming in with decent ultimates for the next attack. If they get those 2 opening picks, maybe the London Spitfire players just won't touch the point. We'll have a complete mirror on our hands here, but I think the London Spitfire are probably not going to make that mistake. They are down on ultimates in the longer fight. They will get a rally. They're going to have a lot to delay with, but Hangzhou Spark have the tools to just open this up and win that longer fight eventually. The question is, how fast can they do it? How well can they execute the push? We're going to see a huge flank here from Architect.
Bernard, yeah, I'm not sure how Bernard survived. He was in there pretty deep that entire time. The accretion not going to hit. Architect not going to be able to find the lockdown there on the Tracer to try to find the kill. Huge right side wraparound from defender's perspective. Hangzhou Spark worked their way around the side. The bomb going to be taken down just as quickly as he had arrived. Barrier set up, and you can see Bernard getting into the back line flank, trying to close this out. 96.6% built up for the Hangzhou Spark. The Immortality Field coming through absolutely clutch. Saves Bebe's life as he continues to heal up the rest of the members of the Hangzhou Spark. Architect pops off in the final fight, collecting numerous kills. And after we have the time bank equalization, it is not far apart. 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 24 seconds.
Yep. And, pretty similar type push there. They come through. You get those picks and win the longer fight. They didn't get it as fast as London did there on their initial attack, but it's a pretty even time bank here. What's really interesting and distinct about this series, I feel, compared to the other two that we saw today, is we're still seeing no Widowmaker whatsoever. And I do wonder if we won't see it until the thing I'm about to say until Hangzhou's defense, but I wonder if Hangzhou will try the Widow if this attack goes pretty well for them. Like if they want to just say, okay, we're gonna commit hard to a Widowmaker and hope for this really full hold, or at least a really big time bank depletion on their defense. I do wonder about that. I'm surprised we just haven't seen it at all when you have such a great Widowmaker player on your side as Godsby, and the meta does call for it sometimes. They're just completely focused on the Ashe. Both of these teams, they just haven't messed with it all. I just find that a little bit strange. Kind of a unique feature of this series. Glister staying on the Tracer. He has found a lot of success with it so far. And it's not really about big backline kills or pulse bombs. It's just that consistent harass damage that empowers Babel to break through the front lines. So we'll see. Looks like the New York teleporter here. Yep.
That seems like they're going to be going
it's
for
scouted
it.
by Glister.
Scouts it, but yeah, not in a position to capitalize. And they had somebody like Jihun around that side of the map, maybe could try to go for a halt off on multiple members, but they will be able to get through for free. Babel for now on the low ground, just going to be chipping away at the barriers sitting inside the garage. And you can see Hangzhou toying around with their angles of approach here. Seems like they're going to be sending the supports and the tanks around the front to be hovering in behind the shields as well.
Yeah, well, Hangzhou Spark here, a nice angle to actually play around the barriers on the corner of the point, but they need a pick before this actually becomes really threatening. I like the angle they're taking, and there's the pick.
Yeah, managed to find the kill onto Babel. About to be taking him down. Now they're pressing forward. They have them off the point. This is absolutely huge for the Hangzhou Spark. Godsby finds another one, this time highly going to be falling. Immortality Field was used, but it just couldn't stay in it. I suppose it'll lob that one forward to try and save the tank's lives. Second tick getting ready to come through as Jihun gets melted by the beam. And things are looking very good for the Hangzhou Spark. They have about 40 seconds remaining. Just finish cleaning up the members of the London Spitfire, and that will be a cap in an extra 30 seconds.
Yeah, and it's hard to say if there's really a chance for them to double cap here or even take a tick right now. The fight went pretty long, so Architect will have the opportunity to use a duplicate. I think if he duplicates Bernard, there's a real chance they can have a great Flux fight here. One Flux into QOQ getting his second one, or the second one of the fight. I think that's their best bet here. There is a chance. There's a real chance they could actually grab a tick here, which would be phenomenal. There's the Pulse.
If not more than that, Pulse Bomb going to be good, though. Glister manages to find Mika. Immortality Field now taken down as well. And it's a strong start to the defense here for the London Spitfire. With Architect getting picked as well, it's going to have to be the retreat call coming in for the rest of the Hangzhou Spark. We're down to 25 seconds. They lose anybody in this remaining time to a stagger kill. It's going to be absolutely massive for Spitfire, but instead, it's got to be looking to turn things around. Bob's going to be tossed in. They all get hold
Huge
together. The Bob
overextension.
chunking away at them. Finds Hiley. The Flux not going to be able to catch anybody here for QOQ, but it doesn't matter. Damage still going to be done. And now Hangzhou Spark can go ahead, plus forward back over towards the point. They make their way on. Jihun going to be stunned up, desperately in need of some healing, but Glister capitalizes on the overextension from QOQ, takes him out of the fight. It's going to be a very slow run back for him. Wouldn't be surprised if we see him swap over onto something like the Wrecking Ball just to try to get here. First tick getting ready to roll through. Architect nearly to that Flux, but will get knocked out of the duplicate. Retakes back into the skies. Needs to get some kills. Kushue and Bebe both going to be gone. Bob going to be coming out now from Babel. OT bleeds away, and they cannot get that second tick.
Not able to get it. Glister's Pulse onto, I believe it was onto Mika on that first push. It looks like the Immortality Field for Bebe was just either misplaced or Mika walked out of it. But that was a crazy kill. They got both a kill and the Immortality Field early, which was pretty insane. And yeah, we're actually getting a replay of this moment. So let's take a look at this because this is what I was most curious about, right? Let's see how this happens. So there's the halt. Pulse comes. And where is the Immortality Field? Is it just a second too late? Yeah. Oh, wow. I mean, like, frame perfect, a second too late.
Yeah.
But then London almost
moving around the corner as
London
well.
almost threw that away by almost chasing them back to spawn. They were able to stabilize, but that was the winning moment, essentially, in a perfect scenario where they played perfectly. That was like it. That was basically a done deal, and just shows you in Overwatch, 1 millisecond can be the difference between a win and a loss, a tick and not getting one. Massive play.
Well, let's see how they fare. 2:24. So again, it was only 24 seconds separating the two teams here at the start. It might be time to get potentially the telescope out, Wolf.
Yeah, it might be. I think there's a really good chance they do draw, but no Widowmaker from Hangzhou. I thought they might play around with it here, but not gonna try to look for that advantage despite getting the double cap or the full cap on A. I don't know why I keep saying double cap today. Not wearing any hats, no caps in my room. I don't know what's going on.
They move their way forward. Glister shifts back over onto the Tracer after TPing them up top. They're looking for that early assassination on Architect to try to get him out of the sky, but so far unable to really touch the Echo. Dynamite over the top doesn't net them much of anything. Babel so far hasn't gotten a shot through a barrier. There you go. Finally gets one headshot in on the Architect, but not going to be able to finish him off. Immortality Field comes out. Hiley will finally strike back and get a kill, but it's going to have to be pretty much a full reset here for the London Spitfire. Glister going to be off existing around the back, likely trying to find Architect on his reapproach to the point.
Yeah, if you're London Spitfire right now, you're putting a lot in the Tracer, a lot of eggs in the Tracer basket right now. I mean, you really are. Glister needs to find something. He needs to force an Immortality Field. That's your best hope here. And I mean, when your opponent knows that too, it's so hard to actually make that play. Look, he can't even poke out here to try to flank.
Yeah, nearly finished off. Glister was harassing Architect there for a while over towards the spawn, but playing up on that high ground back behind the point still. Move down to about half HP, picks up a health pack, and will be okay. And Matrix going to be placed down on the corner as they make their way around the side, but the Flux comes in, manages to catch at least 4 members. They get dropped back down. Immortality Field is out from Hiley to try to keep them alive. You can see QOQ just still spamming in, but 2 members already going to be gone as Kushue and Bebe fall. Jihun will be taken down by Godspeed, but Bernard manages to find Mika, so that could be the breakthrough that London Spitfire were looking for. Just have to finish clearing off the point and start capping it here for themselves.
Huge kill here.
They're trying to be elusive, but yeah, they managed to find that kill onto the Tracer.
It's looking worse and worse.
An opportunity for Hangzhou to maybe hold this one out.
Yeah, it's looking worse and worse here for Spitfire. By every second that goes by, Glister needs to rush back to the point. He's going to have to use his blink, so he's not going to have a ton of mobility here. Hangzhou actually playing super passive.
Yeah, Architect, he can't poke out. He wasn't getting any heals. All the healers are still getting ready to run back, and the Mega Pack was being taken by QOQ, so he had to wait for the real rival before he could start poking out yet again. Make their way onto the point. The Supercharger going to be around the corner. Glister gets his way into the back, takes down Godspeed. Now starts looking for a little bit more. Immortality Field going to be finished off. The Bob is ready to go. Dynamite going to be tossed in. They would love to hold this Bob for point B, and it seems like that is likely going to be the play here for Babel. As Glister just dashes around looking for multiple kills to try to get that next Pulse Bomb online. London finally done it. They'll get that extra 30 seconds, but this is going to be them only having one chance at capping point B.
Yep. Architect dies, but it's not a stagger. He gets the fast spawn for 2 CP, so he's going to be able to respawn right away. London Spitfire here, I mean, they have a rally available to match Mika's. I mean, it's all, one tick is all they need. It's all about Glister here. I think if he can get a pick, I mean, that's all you need to get one tick and win this map. It's super close right now, neck and neck.
Bob onto the point, Flux coming out, QOQ dropping them down, Immortality Field going to be gone. Bebe going to get picked off, Glister managing to find one. They're moving up on the point, now going to be contested, but Glister's in the back line. He's got a pulse bomb ready to go. He's waiting for his opportunity. Bombs that one down in behind Gushue. It's enough damage to help scoop up the kill. Dar finds that one, but a trade comes through onto the enemy Orisas. Babel gets rid of QOQ. They're still ticking up steadily. Bob comes in, they have to clear that one off. They push it away from the point, so it's not contesting anymore. Still the DPS members alive. Godsby playing down. Immortality Field keeping him alive. Architect goes up into the air. He's looking to poke somebody out. Sanguinar with the armor managing to survive the shield bash. Not going to hit Gushue, who returns on the wrecking ball. Gets beaten and battered around. Knocked down to about half HP. Has to move away from the point. Comes back through. Is so very low and in danger of dying. Makes his way back into the spawn room as QOQ comes around the side with a Reinhardt. But they all just press forward onto him to finish him off. The hit is there onto Mika. The pulse bomb comes through. Junks out. Gushue yet again. Survives for with a sliver of HP. Now Architect transforms, gets pushed away, and it's long enough. He cannot roll back through onto the point to keep it contested. And London Spitfire, they win a second map now over the Hangzhou Spark. Volskaya is theirs, and they are up 2-0. Match point in their hands.
What a statement win from London Spitfire. Again, both of these maps,
huge. They
won them like on hard mode, you know? We might be looking at, I don't know, a completely different story here if like Bebe's Immortality Field comes up like a frame faster. It might be a completely different game we're watching right now, but London Spitfire,
you never know.
Really, really clutch plays coming through. A lot of these, it looks hopeless, right? Some of these fights, and they get into the perfect position. They get that kill, and you have a lot of talented mechanical players on this team that are making big plays right now, and it's just absolutely insane that they're not only playing these close games against Hangzhou Spark, but actually closing them out.
A really close series, but London Spitfire edging out a little bit further ahead, and now at 2-0, looking to close this with a sweep over Hangzhou Spark, a team that a lot of people have been touting as the, potentially the second best team in the APAC region. There's a lot for us to unpack that has happened so far in these first two maps, as well as what could happen for the rest of this series. So make sure you stay tuned, because in a couple minutes we'll have our game break coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, welcome back for our game break presented by Pringles Wavy. Already such an exciting series between the London Spitfire and the Hangzhou Spark, but London, against a lot of people's expectations, are currently leading this 2-0. Hangzhou Spark now have to reverse sweep this rookie squad.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're at this place.
Just a younger squad.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
a lot of them aren't rookies.
Some of them are rookies, some of them aren't. I mean, a lot of them are Overwatch League rookies, but Achilles and I both know what like a real rookie means. Like, but yeah, like Haksal Rookie of the Year, I'm like, well, okay. That's another debate for another time. But he had a great year last year, and it was his first year in the Overwatch League, and that's what it means, technically. Anyways, I think Hangzhou Spark have the capability to bring this back, though, for sure. Like, this is not a team that...
Oh, yeah.
This is not a team that that lacks experience, that hasn't been in this situation a million times. It's not a team that is the underdog in this series or anything like that. This is a team that has lost 2 very close games, and if one or two things go a little bit differently in those last 2 maps, we might have Hangzhou Spark up 2-0 right now. So this is not a hopeless situation by any means.
No, it absolutely isn't. I mean, one of the biggest reasons that we might be taking a lot of time singing the praises of the London Spitfire rather than acknowledging, the potential of the Hangzhou Spark is just because of the stark turnaround that we're seeing from London from just 2 weeks ago. Based on that, you would never have anticipated that London would be beating the Spark. Even if they hadn't added QOQ and Architect, you would still think that Hangzhou Spark would take down that 2-week-old London Spitfire with relative ease. It's just that they have improved so much in such a short span of time that Spitfire has gone from looking like the clear-cut bottom-of-the-barrel team in the APAC region to now a potential contender for the Summer Showdown.
Yeah, and if we zoom in on London Spitfire a little bit more in our Pringles Wavy Crunch Time segment,
okay, we'll do it. Go ahead.
I'll pull into it. I feel like this is a sign of really good coaching, and to be able to bring a squad that has some rookies on it and some players who've been around but haven't had amazing success. For example, Bernard was at the top of North American contenders but was never able to accomplish, I think, what he would have considered great success in Korea. And obviously, Fusion University was a really strong team that came to Korea and did okay. Like, I think people thought they were going to do better. They did okay. And he had that kind of successful run, but I think he wanted to be on top 4 in Apex. I think he wanted to be recognized in Overwatch League. So even he hasn't reached that peak yet. And you put all these players together who have a lot of potential. And you and I were actually joking with the manager of London, or the GM from London Spitfire last night about this. He was jokingly telling us he's like, everyone keeps telling me our team has potential, but I want to win. And the thing is, I feel like the potential is finally being realized. This is no longer potential for this team. It's actually, this team is very good and suddenly very scary. And it's an evolution that has taken a really long time. And we were in is it 21 or 22? It's 21, I think. We're many weeks into the Overwatch League now.
I don't know. They've all blurred together.
And it's not too late for London's. It is 21. Producer confirmed.
Getting confirmation.
But it's not too late for London Spitfire. I think they're 1-2 right now in the summer bracket, and they can make that a 2-2 with this win. If it's a 3-0, it's great for their indicator points, their map differential.
Yeah.
So I look at this and I think this is the turning point. If they 3-0 this, I think everyone's going to remember this is the moment of we all suddenly realize London Spitfire might go to the APAC summer finals. That might happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and that the coaching staff was, been playing 5D chess with this lineup. It's a little bit like shock going into 2019. They kind of sacked the inaugural season to get poised to win the championship in 2019, but Spitfire is just kind of fast tracking the process, bringing all these rookies together, and then just molding them so quickly. It's really been phenomenal to see, but the series is not over yet. Like we said, Hangzhou Spark certainly does have potential to drag this back in. They have to pull off a reverse sweep. We know that they have the mental fortitude and the perseverance with which to do so, but it's about overcoming this just consistent clutchiness that we see from London Spitfire. Every time it looks like they're down and out in a fight, they manage to bring it back in by, one huge player or two players just performing so well together. So the pressure is certainly on for the Hangzhou Spark. They do not want to go down in the series without a single map win. They do not want to go down with a loss at all. So we'll see if they're going to be able to drag this one back through. But that's it for our game break presented by Pringles Wavy. We'll have the rest of the series coming up in a few minutes, so stay tuned.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Alrighty, welcome back. We are done with the game break, and it is time to get back into the action. Spitfire leading 2-0 if you're just joining us, and Hangzhou Spark have to pull off a reverse sweep. Both teams have been, batting heads this entire time, but it's just been Spitfire barely able to beat them out every single time. So now they have this lead, and Hangzhou Spark, the onus is very much on them to out-clutch what has already been an insanely clutch Spitfire team.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, I can't tell you guys the series has been one-sided. Like, I think if a lot of people are tuning in just now, which
Definitely
actually happens a lot with our Asia region because people wake up, in North America and Europe and start watching. As it becomes like more normal hours for you guys to be awake. Thanks for staying up for those who stayed up all night. Like people start waking up, people tune in, they're probably thinking right now, oh look, like London Spitfire is crushing. That's pretty surprising. It's not crushing, but even to be able to take these, like I said earlier, to be able to take these maps close against Hangzhou in itself is a pretty solid statement. It's a pretty big achievement with how Hangzhou is playing right now with these new players. But then to beat them 2-0 or have a 2-0 lead and then potentially like close it out 3-0 makes a huge statement, and it would put them at 2-2 with +1 in the map differential, which is a pretty nice spot to be. It would put them right at around 4th place in our Asia group. So, this is a real contender suddenly.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we were talking to the GM of the team last night, and I said, even if you guys make it a close series, I think that's still a really good boon for you. I didn't come into this match at all expecting London Spitfire to be leading 2-0, but like we were discussing, during the crunch time, Hangzhou Spark, they have the tools, they have the veteran status in these players to turn this one around. It's just a matter of executing on that and making it happen, because the wind right now is fully in London Spitfire's sails. So they need to find a way to take that out, put it into their own, and come out on top. We're getting ready to go into Rialto for escorts, so always going to be a bit more of a difficult map, but maybe this is finally where we get to see that Widowmaker showdown of, Babel, who's still going to be in, going up against Godspeed.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see that bridge hold potentially as well, attempted by teams if they have the advantage on A, or just past A. The defending team can put the Widowmaker where Lip was, for example. I do wonder, too, about the Tracer, because, we saw Prophet try to pigeonhole the Tracer onto this map with very limited success earlier for Seoul Dynasty. And his successor on London Spitfire, Glister, now may simply try the same thing. And I think Glister's been playing a little bit better than Prophet was in the last series in terms of the Tracer, so he might find more success. But if he falls in the same trap and doesn't find success, then that's going to cost London Spitfire. So it feels like London Spitfire are a little bit less flexible with their compositions right now. So we'll have to see how they play it.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. They might have, some map-specific stuff prepared for this. Obviously, they know exactly what maps they're going to be playing on ahead of time until we actually get into the tournament format where the, loser will select as we get into the playoffs and whatnot. But they know that Rialto is going to be coming up, so I think that they're going to be anticipating having to have that Widowmaker showdown, which is why Babel is still going to be in. Otherwise, if not, then maybe it's still just going to be Ash, because even that from him has still been, really good so far. Both he and Godspeed have both been playing phenomenal Ashes tonight.
Yeah, they really have. And, I mean, it's been Widowless so far, but this is a great map for Widowmaker. It's solid for Ash, too. I mean, Widowmaker gives you a lot stronger kill potential and what we like to call pick potential. The ability to kill someone early is huge because you instantly become a 6v5. You instantly have a 6v5 advantage. But what Ash gives you a lot more utility and the ability to dynamite players. You get Bob, which is a much more useful ultimate and straight on chaotic team fights, whereas Widowmaker's ultimate gives you, a little bit more information. So it's very, very different type of sniper. And, right now Godspeed's just going to stick with the Ash, so we're not going to see his Widowmaker, at least not yet. Might see it after A if we get to that point. Glister with Tracer locked in here. See the Babel teleport come out, and looks like he's going to stick with that. So let's see if he can find more success than Prophet did in our previous series.
They have the Symmetra. We'll just go ahead and swap off that. It will be Babel on the Widow.
Okay. Very patient Widow, by the way.
Approach he wants to take.
That's kind of his trademark, is he doesn't peek sightlines unnecessarily and only waits for guaranteed options, and usually he shoots the tanks more than anything else. I think that's why he's had so much success, is he's just so safe as a Widowmaker player. Like, look at this cautious, slow rollout.
Yep. Inching his way forward, making sure that there's nobody playing indoors here, whereas the rest of the team, at least half of them, splitting around the backside of the point, but Architect spots that out, gets a good amount of damage onto Benar. Doesn't necessarily dissuade them, so Spark just kind of going to be squatting on the cart for now, as London look to break through this defensive hold. It's just a matter about how can they do it.
Yeah, really aggressive positioning here for London Spitfire, but they aren't able to make anything of it. The cart rolls a little bit, but they haven't gotten through that, gridlock I was talking about earlier. They're still kind of locked up in here. If they get around this corner, everything will change.
He's looking for Godspeed, manages to find him. Glister, now just going to be focus firing onto the Immortality field. It's already 70%, nearly has that pulse bomb ready to go.
He's just uncontested right now. He's getting free damage.
Yeah, no one's really been able to do anything. The shield bash didn't connect. He dashed out of that one. The stick is going to come through. Bebe going to get popped. Ji-Hun does get taken down by Gushue, but that's going to be a 3-for-1 in favor of the London Spitfire. Now a fourth one joining them all in the grave, as Architect will get finished off right here at the end. Godspeed swaps over onto the Widowmaker to contest with Babel, but for now, this is, in all likelihood, this is point A.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, to your point, is Hangzhou Spark going to take that Shanghai setup that we just saw, and they're going to try to put...
They're moving their way forward.
Well, they are. I thought they were just going to give it up and then look for the positional advantage. If they lose this fight, they lose that opportunity to hold the bridge. The bridge goes with A if they fail this team fight, so it's a risky choice.
Well, and Matrix toss here onto the corner, trying to fire through, break down the shields of the Hangzhou Spark. Kyokyu nearly with the Flux online. Will go ahead, gets that one available, tosses it out. Immortality Field going to be used on the back end. Answering Flux there from Bernard. Immortality Field also going to be the answer. They finish that one off with the accretion as the rally comes rolling. Mika getting up into Bernard's face. This guy's just going to be spamming out so far. No one going to be taken down in the fight. It's just going to be the likes of the Supercharger and the Immortality Field. Doesn't get the hit there onto Glister, but the tank line going to be broken down for the Hangzhou Spark. They don't know which way to look, it would seem. As Glister is constantly in their backline, drawing so much attention. Pulse bomb from him will finish off Godspeed. And that will be point A, netted for the London Spitfire with 3 minutes and 45 seconds to go.
The gamble doesn't pay off, and they get A, but they also get the bridge. They get the bridge for free, which, you know, this is kind of like Junkertown A, where if you go for this contest, you lose positional advantage. Now London Spitfire can do the same thing we saw Shanghai do on their attack, where they try to control these stairs and then put one person on the cart. Good contest here from Hangzhou, though. They're not going to give it up for free. But they did end up losing that trade.
Yeah, good halt backward there from Jihun, just dragging them off the staircase, allowing them to reposition without taking any additional damage. Cart getting ready to move up into the archway now as they hold this overpass. Bernard's got the flux ready to roll. QOQ now has his own.
Unfortunate angle there for the window.
Who pulls the trigger first?
Yeah.
Doesn't get them much. Hiley's still going to be holding on to his. Ulted out of his jump. Flux going to be coming in. I was going to say line of sight.
Yeah, that was scary.
Kind of there by the Flux, but still manages to get that immortality field out. Now the Amp Matrix comes through. Babel gets a headshot on the Architect. This is swapped over onto that Tracer. Glister will follow up, gets rid of QOQ. Flux slams Mika down, finds the kill. And this is going to be point B here for the London Spitfire. Still making pretty respectable time.
And it wasn't really about Hangzhou Spark losing control of the stairway or anything like that. They just won a straight up, you know, neutral fight right at the crux of where point B is. And, you know, obviously the immortality field was scary there for a second. It looked like Hiley might not be able to get to drop it, but he was able to put it in there at the last second and save his team, and then they counter-engaged at the better Flux. Right now, London Spitfire have a really nice angle here, too, to prevent Hangzhou Spark from actually coming out of spawn.
Oh, well, they pushed forward onto Jihun. Kind of left out to dry, so they do lose one of their main tanks, so that's going to be a little bit costly for him as Godsby continues to peek these angles, trying to find Babel.
You almost never see
manages to exit.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you almost never see Babel die in the kill feed to a Widowmaker because he just doesn't take these risks. You can see as soon as he sees Godsby, he just runs away. He's not gonna try to challenge him there. And the cart is halted though. I mean, Hangzhou finally get back firm control of this location. Godsby's still struggling to find ultimate sight lines, but it's a nice halt for now.
That's going to be a pulse bomb stick coming through. Mortality field nicely timed by Hiley, keeps himself safe. Bebe going to be taken down. Bernard. That's with the primary fire, managing to find that kill. Babel under a little bit of fire will start getting topped up slowly here as he gets a mini pack. Godsby will get a shot onto Glister, but they've broken their way through. They're looking for the kill on the Gushway. They manage to chase in for it. All the while, Bernard gets that next Flux online. Hiley in a bad spot, jumps up the barrier, almost keeps him alive, but Bernard will at least be able to get a little bit of revenge. Cart getting some free distance here, but without that Baptiste, Spitfire are going to be in a rough spot, so I have to wait for him to run back over to join in with the rest of the squad. Yeah, and this is a really awkward moment for Hangzhou Spark. Godsby doesn't have any line of sight. He's going to have to fight to get it. And he's going to look to the flank, but look who's right waiting for him. You see he's through the wall, Glister, so he's going to have to play a little bit more carefully. And they do force London Spitfire back a little bit. Flux comes in, gets the catch on the Bebe. Try to finish him off, but he gets enough healing. The rally rolling as well to help keep him alive. Bebe finds one, but they lose out on two. Architect and Mika both going to be eliminated. Now they're looking for Gushway as Hiley just plays around the Amp Matrix. They chunk him out, the cart moving forward. They have to get the tag in, but it's just QOQ by himself. Architect going to try to get back in here on the Tracer. Almost has that pulse bomb ready to go, but just doesn't have the staying power. Already has to recall out, and 1:25 will be the finishing time for London Spitfire here on Rialto.
It's you know, when you look at games like this as an analyst, like I'm looking at through this lens of what's going wrong for Hangzhou Spark. Like, why are they losing these team fights? And it's really hard to identify a problem or mistakes or misplays. It just feels like Godsby really wants to get a pick. He really wants to have high impact, but London Spitfire are playing so passively. And every time Hangzhou Spark go for a fight or go for an engage, London Spitfire just uses their abilities second. And it's like countering Hangzhou Spark, and I don't want to even say Hangzhou Spark's making mistakes or messing up, but London Spitfire is playing this passive style, and Hangzhou's, it seems like a matchup, like mismatch for them, the way these two playstyles clash, and London is just winning these re-engages, right? You see the Hangzhou Spark come in, they try to take a fight, London Spitfire, you know, back up and then re-engage on top of them. We're seeing that a lot. Babel, you know, you're not seeing him in the kill feed, but he's staying back with London Spitfire, which means Godsby can't have the impact he's trying to have. And then you're seeing Glister have these incredible pulse bombs, these threatens, Bebe, having to use Immortality Field early sometimes just because he like even in the first push on A, like he had to use it early because Glister didn't have a pulse bomb, but not because he had a pulse bomb, but because he almost died to just left click. And then Glister comes back with a pulse bomb, the Immortality Field's gone, and he's dead because he can't defend himself. Just little things like that are what's putting London Spitfire ahead. And it's hard for me to say, well, Hangzhou Spark should do X in this situation to be better, because they're not playing poorly at all. It's just London is outclassing them.
Yeah. It's one of those situations where you kind of just unironically say, just win. Like, that's what they have to do, is they have to just win.
To make small tweaks and play a little bit better.
Yeah. The healing coming through. That's going to be a really good start for Hangzhou Spark. Already find Bernard playing forward on that flank angle by himself. That is pretty costly here. The rest of the members going to have to be careful about dancing around these barriers as they try to get the healing through onto Jihun. They'll go ahead, get chunked out. Architect managing to find 2, highly trading 1 back. Looking for a 3rd, as Mika was low, but he is now overextended, and London Spitfire giving up a lot of distance, so a fantastic start for Hangzhou.
I think London Spitfire have the option to contest here reasonably. Remember, Hangzhou Spark went for it last time, and it really backfired on them, and they gave up the high ground, etc. I think London have just enough time, because this team fight was lost so far away, that they should opt for a contest. And look at where Glister's hiding here.
Can he surprise him enough to get the 1 clip?
I think he might. I don't think he knows at all. Messed it up.
Goes in for it, gets a couple headshots, but yeah, body tag comes in. Good instant reaction there from Godspeed, so he's just going to have to exit. Can't go for that play anymore. Godspeed will be hovering above them, actually gets shoved back down by Glister on that high ground. Bernard stunned, getting collapsed upon. Mortality field there for the Hangzhou Spark as they push forward. Now the Flux is going to be coming through, but London Spitfire, they spill back in, looking to win the fight. It's an all-out brawl. It seems like they will be able to close this as Architect is the last one standing, and Babel will go ahead and cut him down.
Because London Spitfire came back to the point so early to contest before it got here, because the team fight loss was so far away, that they actually had a better position than Hangzhou did when they went for their recontest on their defense. And they end up winning the fight and draining several big ultimates. The window's out, you've lost Gravitic Flux, and now you've got back control of this long sightline for Babel. So this is a major win that's going to cost Hangzhou Spark either the map in the series, or at best case scenario for them, a lot of that time bank that's so critical.
Yeah, they get the hull together. Seems like Hangzhou trying to make their mind up. Do they want to go for the high ground approach? Do they wrap around towards the canal? Looks like it might be the latter. No, okay, they do move up the stairwell. Don't want to play that close to the water when there's an enemy. Orisa.
Early recall.
Poison trap will spot out Glister. Yeah, going for that flank. Just plays it better safe than sorry. Goes in. They get the hull together. Pulse bomb coming out, but does get eaten by the kinetic grasp. Really good timing there from QOQ, but Jihun still manages to find Gushwei, so Hangzhou Spark gonna have to try to peel back. Here the Flux coming through for Bernard. They want to press the issue, get the slam down. A lot of damage going to be going out. Grecian barely misses the hit there onto Bebe as he leaps up, but the cleanup will be there all the same. A minute remaining. London Spitfire this close to closing out a 3-0 sweep over the Hangzhou Spark.
And they really played it close, too. They committed to the chase. They went for the Gravitic Flux, which wasn't entirely necessary there, you could argue, but it guarantees them a team fight win. It guarantees them a few more stagger kills. London Spitfire just have to win one more team fight here, and then they win the series. If they lose it, it's already a decent situation for them because the time bank is so weak for Hangzhou Spark. They'd have to finish A in overtime. So I appreciate the choice.
Well, Jihun, yeah, going to be taken down. That's going to be a really good boon for them. Pulse Bomb also online for Architect. Drop down coming in. Glister trying to get behind Godspeed. He'll go ahead, grapple to the side. Poison Mine going to be taken down, but Glister has to exit. Cart just 0.5 meters away, and they get them off the cart long enough to go ahead and roll through into point A. Hangzhou Spark now cleaning up the remaining members of the London Spitfire, and this should, with this timing, with these kills, allow them to go ahead and get across the bridge scot-free.
Yeah, they get across the bridge free. Godspeed, by the way, he hasn't, again, these Widowmakers aren't finding major kills or anything like that, but Godspeed's survivability, he's been threatened by Glister so many times, his reaction time is extremely quick, and he's able to escape, and you have to really appreciate that, especially when a lot of these times he wasn't with the Brigida, he wasn't with, a Batiste that could help him. He actually just kind of had to deal with the Tracer on his own. He's doing a great job here. He's doing it again. He's just reacting to these very quickly. Glister is a little bit timid now, it feels like, to commit. Has a pulse and doesn't even use it.
Yeah, getting up into Godspeed's face, but he's looking for the guaranteed stick. He's looking to, force out that immortality field. And Matrix coming through on the corner. They get pulled together. That's going to be the Pulse Bomb coming in. But again, Immortality Field is there. Flux now coming out. Sanguinar, dangerously low, does get saved by an Immortality Field of his own.
But they forced Immortality Field
to stay in the fight for a little bit
this
longer.
Flux could be big.
Yeah. Yeah, Flux coming down, gets the hit there onto QOQ, and with Jihun there, they get the alley-oop, they have the kill. And now the card is going to be halted. Grecian not going to find a stun. The Fortify is there from Gushue, keeps himself safe, and this time Glister finally gets the better of Godspeed, taking him down to the back line. Pursues in deeper for a little bit more, looking for the supports and just to generally build up towards that Pulse Bomb.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great 1-2 punch there. You get the Immortality Field out early. Then you've got Bernard's Gravitic Flux. They don't have the answer. And right now, Godspeed's just shooting at shields. He's trying to find an angle. But Hangzhou Spark are in dire straits right now. They have no initiation ultimate. They have no way to start a fight here other than potentially a pick. But look at the barrier coverage here. Godspeed can't find an angle. And now they're going to have to just take a last-ditch attempt to just brute force their way into this team fight when they don't have high ground. It's not a good situation here if you're Hangzhou Spark.
It's certainly not. Even if they can get this push through, they're only going to get a minute and a half added to the clock. They're pushing forward here onto the high ground. Immortality Field straight off the bat comes through from Highly. Knows that they do not have a Flux, but they will have a Pulse Bomb very soon, and there's going to be a window of opportunity for Architect to maybe find a big one on the back of a halt play. Speaking of which, we'll see them halted off that high ground. They're not too nonplussed by that. The cart is there. Godspeed finds an opening. Glister going to be taken down. Apple does have the Infrasight rolling. Gets the dink there onto Bernard. Takes him so very low in the Pulse Bomb from Architect that I had aforementioned. Manages to find a kill onto Highly. Jihun trades one back, finds Mika, but Godspeed gets the snipe onto the Orisa. Looking for a little bit more as the card is so very close here. Hangzhou Spark, nearly with a second lease on life, just have to get their way into point B. Immortality Field. Not there for Bebe, but he is fine. He evades that Pulse Bomb stick from coming through, keeps himself alive and in the fight for at least for a little bit longer as Jihun re-arrives with the Wrecking Ball. Bebe going to be taken down though. Godspeed under fire, finished off. Glister finds the headshots, and this is looking like maybe London Spitfire might be able to close this one out. The pile driver comes down, QOQ disappears. They have the rally rolling from Mika, but I don't know if it's going to be enough for him to try and stay alive. He's playing up, but everybody has him surrounded. They finish off the Brigida. The OT bleeds away, and London Spitfire have done it.
3-0.
Hangzhou Spark just could not come out on top. They could not get a map win. London Spitfire look reinvigorated. They have a new squad here. They still change up the roster a little bit. We don't have Glister starting in the series. We find that to be a little bit confusing. Maybe they're not going to be able to win control. They take it with, although Glister comes in and he just continuously is harassing multiple members on the side of the Hangzhou Spark. They can't deal with it, and they close it out 3-0.
And they've got Jihun in on the roster today as well. After JMac has a great performance on Orisa on Control, they keep Jihun in for the next 2 maps. He has a great time. And, I mean, this is Hangzhou Spark getting out-mechanicked as well. Like, London Spitfire is actually winning this not by like incredible decision making. In fact, some of their decision making led them to like some bad fights where they didn't have ultimates or they were fighting a 4v6 fight or a 5v6 fight. And London Spitfire is taking so many of these fights where they're down a member, down 2 members, just from raw mechanics alone. And that's not something you hear very often from a squad that's comprised of a lot of rookies, but also against insane veterans on the other side in Hangzhou Spark. I mean, we're talking about Architect here and Godspeed, who are getting outclassed by these newer players. Babel, coming in. QOQ, these insanely talented players are just getting outplayed. This was a huge upset. This puts London Spitfire at 2-2 with a +2 in map scores. They're breaking 5-0. They're breaking the 50%. And I don't know. There's not much else to say, but it feels like London Spitfire is going places. You can only go up from here.
Yeah.
Like, this is a team that needs to be taken seriously. People really need to start taking London Spitfire seriously. This is not the same team that we saw debut earlier on in some of our early homestands in the Overwatch League, struggled against even some of our Western teams. This is a new top-tier Korean powerhouse.
Yeah, just phenomenally played by them. I mean, Hangzhou Spark, maybe a bit of an off day, but going to have to try to bounce back from that because, they're riding on so many expectations coming into the series that are now going to get broken down a little bit here. London, they take it, and I think a lot of people have to reassess this squad in their power rankings because they have been explosive in their last 2 series. Speaking of explosive, though, I started off the series so strongly, got that clutch comeback on the second round of Lijiang Tower. Our player of the match presented by Xfinity is none other than Hailey, who just played a phenomenal Baptiste all the way through.
Yeah, he had some really clutch moments with heals that kept his teammates alive. J-Mac in particular and Jihoon both like dying, or nearly almost dying. Nearly dying, almost dying. Both of those things, just separately. Like nearly almost, maybe dying, no.
Very good.
But yeah, he saved them several times just with right-click heals, but then the immortality field usage was better for him than Bebe, who had a few weird moments. It looked like it might have been mistimed on Volskaya, but some people are saying, after acknowledging that replay, maybe he shield bashed out, but the performance was not the same between Bebe and Hailey in terms of the frag potential we saw from Hailey, the healing output, the immortality field usage. And oftentimes in a lot of awkward places, he held his immortality field through a lot of team fights where it looked like players might die, but he knew, okay, we've got enough healing, I'm going to heal through this, I'll save my immortality field for the upcoming Flux. A lot of the time on the side of Hangzhou Spark, they died to Fluxes or got crushed by Fluxes because Glister forced out an immortality field. Godsby wasn't able to do the same thing to Hailey. He was very patient, and it was a great night for the support player here who really made a massive impact in this 3-0.
Yeah, absolutely huge. I mean, just those 3 kills, just him sitting there with an Amp Matrix was just absolutely huge from them from the start, and he didn't really back down from that peak. He just kind of kept playing at that level, was consistently clutch and keeping his teammates alive. So wonderfully done by him and for the rest of the London Spitfire. For the Hangzhou Spark, it's time to just kind of wipe the slate clean after this match and get prepared for the next one, because things are just going to get more and more tense as we go deeper into the Summer Showdown and get ready to, to have, prize pools on the line, having elimination matches and whatnot. So going to have to hunker down. I think there's still obviously a ton of potential, and there's a ton of talent on that roster, as you were saying, for them to, still net themselves a top, top 2, top 3 spot in the APAC region. But London is definitely making the strongest case right now for a team that needs to be reassessed in the power rankings.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think everyone is going to be looking at the results from this match when they wake up tomorrow and being like, I wish I watched that because that was actually insane. Thanks again to everybody who stayed up all night to watch this. Our viewership is like massively up recently, and I feel like a lot of people are suddenly saying like, "Oh, Asia seems like the place to be." Like, yeah,
APAC, good.
Yeah, come watch our games, all right?
But yeah, and as always, a thank you to the production staff as well, who is sticking through, alongside a lot of you guys who are watching from back home. They're working from back in North America as well. But that's it for this evening. Of course, we have more matches coming up tomorrow, as well as the NA matches kicking off I say tonight. For us in the day, for everybody else back in the U.S., and then, in the evening in Europe. So make sure you guys get a quick little nap in, wake up for those, and we'll see you back here for more APAC matches in a little under 24 hours.